Hi and welcome back to my channel. I'm gonna try to do speed paints every week, but I'm leaving the country soon, so there might be a week coming up where you don't see a video from me, but it'll hopefully only be 1 week or 2 weeks where it's totally off, and then after that I hope to do consistent speed paints after. So this week is a speed paint, actually it's a two-parter. The first part is of José from the Enchanted Tiki room, the main host, as well as the Barker bird who used to be outside of the attraction, and they removed him because he was causing such a traffic jam outside of the attraction because people wanted to stop and gawk at him, and as a little piece of Enchanted Tiki room history. And also one of the Cockatoo chorus birds that lowers from the ceiling when they have that chandelier bit in the middle of the show. If you guys have ever been to the Enchanted Tiki room at Disneyland or Walt Disney World, there's cockatoo birds, so I draw one of them. And then I thought, well, it's not fair to draw Jose and then not draw the other hosts. It's kind of a no-brainer. So next week's video is actually the other hosts, Michael, Pierre, and Fritz. But this week is a speed paint of these three, so I guess let's just get into this. First up is Jose, and I'm actually missing the Adobe Animate footage of him because I didn't anticipate doing a video on these until after I'd already drawn him and got the idea to do the other two. So I just have the Procreate sketch footage for him, and he was the first in this series, obviously, so I'm just trying to figure out the overall look I want for him. I kind of want to keep things simple, and I gave him the flowers because I thought, again, he was going to be the only one of his kind in this series, so I was just making a generic Tiki Room perch rather than what his actual perch looks like. And next week you'll see me do the hosts, and I base their perches more off what they look like in the actual show. You can see real quickly my boyfriend's giving his input on the overall shape, and a couple see his style's a little bit different than mine, you can tell, and some suggestions for the art. And then I go over it with a red line on top of his red line, which was actually a black line, and I'm making sure it matches my style and overall vibe to the image. And I messed around really quickly with some leaves for the background, and then I thought I'd go with a more simple textured background just to make him the real focus of this piece. I'm doing some quick color inlays like here, and then that's the flash image of him that I then brought it back into Procreate. There's no progress for that because I didn't record that because I didn't know I was going to do a video, but you'll see my progress for that in the next two birds as well as next week's birds, the process for that. So I bring it back into Procreate, and I'm doing the same thing I did with my Animal Crossing villagers for the shading process, where I just took the flat color layer from the image, duplicated it, made it darker, less saturated, and more bluey purple, and then I click it, add a mask, and I use the black paintbrush to erase and paint with the light. It's the same process I've been using for my other artwork on this channel, but I'll reiterate it here because somebody might be watching this video first and doesn't know what I'm doing. So that's exactly what I'm doing. Duplicate, make it shadowy, make it darker, less saturated, more purple or blue, and then use a layer mask to paint in the light on the image. That helps me paint with shadow better than like doing shading on its own layer. It makes more sense in my mind if I'm painting with the light. So here I'm just adding a texture into the background, messing with a few different brushes. My favorite one is the Nico Rule brush. I think it's under painting in Procreate. It's one of the defaults. I don't have any custom brushes because quite frankly I'm too lazy for that, and I like the Procreate brushes. And I'm doing an overlay here by I set my smudge brush to Nico Roll as well, and I kind of push the paint around, mess with the overlay settings. And then this signature I'm kind of absurdly happy with because I was imitating the lettering style of the Enchanted Tiki room, and I just used a pencil and I did my own name in that kind of lettering without using a font, and I think it turned out cool. So here's the final work of Jose, who started this whole thing. So I wanted to do the Barker bird next because inspiration struck me. I was like, I should probably do more of these Tiki Room birds, and the Barker bird no longer exists. Here you can see the yellow one is actually my boyfriend's sketch, and then I was like, okay, I can work with that. He's like, you should have him more like, welcome to the show pose, so I do that. But anyway, I wanted to do the Barker bird because he doesn't exist anymore. It's kind of like a niche like theme park thing. And I wanted to do the color palette a little more nostalgic. You'll see in a minute. I'll put up the photo I used as reference for the colors of the sky here, where it's like this blue-orange kind of faded color scheme. I wanted it to look like almost like it's from an old family photo that they took of the Enchanted Tiki room when they went on vacation back in the day, you know? I wanted that kind of nostalgic feeling with this, so I like the orange and the muted blues. And I put some clouds on here to activate the space in the top left because there's really nothing going on there because he's got the cane in the top right and then his wing in the bottom left, and it's kind of empty up there, so I just put a cloud. And for some reason, I don't know why, I didn't do his colors in Procreate, so we're already at the Adobe Animate section of the video here. I actually do his colors in Animate. I don't know why, but it still works, so it just goes to show that there's no one tried or true way to get art done. You can kind of mess with your process and see what's more efficient. Honestly, to me, I think it's faster to do the flat colors really quickly in Procreate, so I can just boom, 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 eyedropper fill, instead of trying to come up with a color scheme and animate. But I mean, they more or less took the same amount of time, so, you know, just trying to mess with the process and see what's more efficient, I guess. But anyway, I'm using the pencil tool in Adobe Animate, and I just go the same process as my Animal Crossing Villager video, but I just go in and I draw the outlines of where I'm going to do the color fills, because I'm going to delete all these lines later. It doesn't matter if they overlap or they're messy or anything. I'm just creating solid shapes that I get to fill in with solid color, and then I'll delete all these lines later, and it'll just leave behind the clean areas of color and the clean shapes in its wake when I delete all the lines. By the way, sorry if I'm losing my voice. I'm recording this back to back with next week's video, and I do not talk a lot, so my voice goes pretty quick. Anyways, so I'm filling this in with solid colors in my dual monitor setup. Actually, you can't see this, obviously, but in my dual monitor, I have a bunch of reference photos of the Barker bird that I'm looking at, and of his cousin, the one that's at the Disney Family Museum in San Francisco. I'm looking at that for reference on my dual monitor while I do these color fills. And after this, I decided I'm just going to do the colors in Adobe Animate, or I'm not going to do the colors in Adobe Animate. I'm going to do them in Procreate, because it's just a little bit faster to do them first and then just fill in with the eyedropper tool in Animate. So just refining my process here and trying to figure out what's fastest. I delete all the lines, and all that's left behind is clean color. I just need to adjust a couple little things here, like the hat. I didn't fill in that little area at the top of his eye and stuff like that. So now we're back in Procreate. And I adjusted the clouds with a little bit of feedback from my boyfriend. He's like, they should probably be a different shape, a little less uniform in size and distance. I was like, that's a fair point. So I did that, and I put the clouds actually on their own layer. That way I could kind of paint sunlight underneath without affecting the other layers underneath. I put it on alpha lock, and I kind of muted the whole color scheme again, going for that nostalgic vibe where it's a little faded. It's a little old photography, it's not as saturated and bright and new. And for the shading, again, I'm duplicating the color layer, setting it to a darker, less saturated, more blue tone, and painting with the light. I think actually for these three, I didn't even use a layer mask. I just used the eraser because I was trying to be speedy, but it was actually a little faster to use the layer masks in next week's three that you'll see. And again, I do like a pink and yellow overlay to give him a nice nostalgic look, and this is the final result. Last but not least, I wanted to do one of the Cockatoo choir girls that lowers from the ceiling when there's like a big chandelier and there's all the little birds singing their little song. She's one of the Cockatoo girls. They have a bunch of names, Gigi, Fifi, and whatever. But again, my boyfriend's giving ideas for the wings, because I was just kind of like, I don't know what to have her doing. Because in my mind, I wanted her to look like she was singing, and I couldn't get it right. So he's like, how about this? I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. So I went with that shape, and then I later tweak it to look more like my own style. You can see me kind of tweaking it a little bit here. I gave her a nice flower, and I wanted her to look purpley because that whole lighting scenario with the chandelier is very like purpley, pink, and orange. Like those are the colored lights that are kind of around them. And I used this cool bokeh brush. I think it's under lighting in Procreate, and I just set it to the colors of those lights to give it that ambiance. Oh yeah, I really didn't do the color fills until I went into Animate. That's weird because I did the opposite for Jose and the other host that you'll see next week. Anyway, it is a little bit faster in my opinion to do the colors in Procreate first before bringing it into Animate like this, but they're both pretty fast techniques for getting the art made, so can't complain. I guess I was just experimenting with these to see what would be faster. Anyway, same technique as the Barker bird, where I'm taking that vector pencil tool and I'm outlining my different areas, and I'm actually separating. See how the wing is like part of the body, but I kind of separate it. I want to make it a slightly different color. At least I think I do. Yeah, I think I make it a slightly different off-white shade just to separate it from the body a little bit. Otherwise it would be this solid white blob that flows into each other with no rhyme or reason. But I help define those areas with the pencil tool later in Procreate anyhow to help separate the wing from the body so it's not just this massive white. And the flower, I'm just doing 3 layers of like a purpley off-white tone to give it like a 3-dimensional look, for lack of a better term, just to give it some dimension. And yeah, I did just, I made the white of the wing is ever so slightly brighter, a brighter cream color than the body, just to give it a little bit of a separation. Give her a lovely blue eyeshadow, which I think is a fun touch. And then I make her perch is the most different of all the perches, I think, because it's like this metal one with like this cool carved pointed stick at the bottom. And I do a little shine effect on the hoop as well. So yeah, I'm going in with the pencil tool. I'm in Procreate again now. I'm just defining the wings a little bit to make them more separate from the body. Otherwise, it just looks like this big, massive bird. And again, I did the same thing with the shadow layer. I made it a little more intensely purple and a little more soft because I really wanted her to look like she had a unique lighting scheme from the other birds, almost as if she's indoors with this artificial lighting on her. And I kind of amplify that with her. She ends up being my favorite bird, I think, of the whole series of 6 I've done, honestly. I don't even know why. Maybe it's just because I like purple, but I did an overlay here again using that Nico Rule brush for my smudge and some hot pink and purple to get this final result. Here are the final 3. I'm pretty happy with them. My favorite's actually the Cockatoo. I think her color scheme turned out the best, but let me know what you guys think. So those are my first 3 Tiki Room birds. Next week I'm doing the other hosts of the show, Pierre, Michael, and Fritz. So definitely check that video out next week. I think those ones turned out even better than these ones. You can buy prints of all these guys in the Society 6 store link in my description below. And be sure to leave a comment if you'd like to see me draw any more theme park stuff. I'm kind of a theme park nerd. I'm not like obsessed, but I do love theme parks obviously, or I wouldn't have this like Tiki Room. On the back it says all the birds sing words. Like I said at the beginning, I worked at Epcot in the college program, so like that didn't kill the magic for me. I still love going to Disney. So if you guys have any recommendations for like weird niche Disney stuff, if you're like, oh, I love Grim Grinning Ghost number 655 and want to see fan art of them or whatever, just suggest it in the comments and I'll definitely add it to my like to-do list for the future. I would love to do more like niche Disney vintage speed paint kind of things like this. So thank you for watching and have a fantastic day.